Why neck knives suck. That's what we're talking about here today. Already, I can hear people cracking their knuckles, getting their keyboard warrior skills, into high gear, kicking them into high gear to begin to make comments, and oh, you don't know what you're talking about, and fixed blades are going to be obviously way more durable than folders. You're stupid, blah blah blah, whatever. That's fine. Knock yourself out. The concept of this video that I really want to talk through is a progression in something that I have just discovered over the many years of not only running this channel, but many years prior to that of being in the outdoors and coming to the conclusion that neck knives suck. And honestly, in general, fixed blades under 4 inches usually suck. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as the video goes on, but I really want to focus here in the beginning on the neck knife portion of the video. And you may be sitting there going, if you're a regular viewer here and you regularly subscribe to the channel, you're like, what are you talking about? You've given great reviews to all these neck knives right here. Yes, I have. And as a small neck knife, these are fine. They do their functions well. They come with good sheaths. They come with good steels, all of that. It's not that we're going to be talking about today. It's just the concept of if I have a choice between taking a neck knife with me for either a day of EDCing around town or a neck knife with me for a weekend camping trip, a multi-day backpacking trip, or a light day hike, am I going to take these neck knives or am I going to take a folder? And that's really what we're getting into and really getting to the guts of the situation. Yes, any knife is cool on some level, but really, when it comes down to it, is it worth you laying down your money to buy a little mini fixed blade versus just sticking with a folder that has a very similar size range? So that's what we're going to be discussing today and really why neck knives suck. So the first thing right out of the gate that I want to hit on and touch on is durability. That's what most people think of, including myself, when I purchase these neck knives over the course of my life. The thought of, hey, well, a fixed blade, a fixed piece of steel is obviously going to be stronger than a folding piece of steel. Yes, absolutely. That's not what I'm talking about today, but I am going to challenge the thought that you're going to put a neck knife through anything 99% of folders could handle. Well, what about that 1%, bro? Okay, yes, maybe you're just so brutal on your knives that you've broken 4 folders. You're like, dude, I'm done with folders. I got to carry a neck knife on me. I got to carry a small fixed blade. It's just what I got to do. Okay, that's fine, but I believe that's a very, very small portion of the viewing audience and knife users in general. So small, it's minute. Because I'm going to tell you from my own experience here at the channel that most folders are going to be able to handle any type of task you're going to ask these little neck knives to do. I'm going to roll in here just a mini Recon. This is the older AUS 8 version. Now they got the new US Carpenter steel that we're going to be testing out soon. But I'm just going to bust that in here on this SE Azula 2. We've had 2 SE Azula 2s over the years and 1 SE Azula. And just so that you can see, for the most part, we're looking at literally like the same size knife, same cutting edge, all that stuff. I have used the Cold Steel Mini Recon, the Cold Steel Fin Wolf, another great knife, and the full-size Recon, and I have been so abusive to these knives. In fact, I even did batoning, not only with the Fin Wolf, but I've also done batoning with the original full-size Recon that we did. If you look back in the annals of Gideon's Tactical way back in the day, we did a review on that, and I was batoning like, I don't know, 3-inch like logs basically with that. And it held up fine, no wobble in the joints. This Fin Wolf, no issues whatsoever, perfect lockup after batoning through any size piece of wood that any one of these any one of these neck knives could do. So when we start talking really about the durability, yes, a fixed blade is obviously stronger, but you're telling me that you're going to do something with this little tiny under 3-inch blade, you're going to do something that's going to damage these 2 folders here? I doubt it. I doubt it. And what about the, like a Delica 4? I mean, maybe, but I doubt it. Honestly, I say no. I say no, that you're going to do something, 99.9% of you, that would cause any of the folding knives that you see here on the table to fail in what you would expect out of your neck knife. And that's just my opinion. You can totally disagree with me if you want. I'm sure you can give me horror stories of, oh bro, I broke like 5 folders and blah blah blah, and that's why I've totally gone away from folders. That's fine. I'm sure there are some of those people out there, but for the regular viewing audience and the regular user, including myself, I just end up not using these knives, and I'm doing very small, delicate, fine tasks that ultimately any one of the folders that you just saw, I'll bring one back in here, that any one of these folders could do. They could do. And what ends up happening is that the durability, though the fixed blade may have the leg up, because it's so small, because it's so compact, you're just not putting it through those tasks, in my opinion. The next part would be ergonomics. Most neck knives are going to come with just a skeletonized frame, then you wrap paracord around it. You can see 3 right here. Some come with micarta handle scales, but that adds to the footprint and the bulk and the weight we'll talk about here in a little bit. Or G10, in carbon fiber. There are some of those out there that do offer that, but that usually jacks up the price more and affects the overall price point as well as just the overall weight of the blade. And so for the majority of neck knives, you're having to rock paracord, and a little thin neck knife like this does not have anywhere near the ergonomics of any of the folders that I just ran in here. All of these folders are going to have more ergonomics. They're going to be better in the hand for longer periods of time. So versus the very narrow paracord that is going to wear out your hand because it feels like you're just holding on to, whatever the thickness of the blade. Usually neck knives are between 1/8 of an inch thick, maybe 5/32, but that's it. And that's all you got with some paracord to try and make that happen. And then maybe you do have some handle scales, and maybe it will be as comfortable as any of these folders, but I'm going to tell you this SE Azula with its handle scales isn't any more comfortable than any of these folders that you have here. It just matches them in its ergonomics. And if it doesn't have handle scales, you're straight out of luck. You don't have the ergonomic capability to go for an extended period of time cutting and doing tasks that, say, a folding knife with handle scales and handles that are formed in molded plastic or G10 or whatever they're using for their handle material is going to feel a lot better in your hand for a lot longer period of time. So 9 times out of 10, your ergonomics are either going to be less than a folder, or they're going to just be matching a folder if it does happen to have a handle scales on the knife. This is really the big nail in the coffin for me with neck knives, and why neck knives suck, and particularly in comparison to folders, is their portability. Because obviously they're fixed, they're going to take up a lot more real estate either on your person if you're EDCing them, or in your pack because you have to either strap them to something, strap them to a belt, whatever, versus just carrying them in your pocket, and just have a much larger footprint than any one of these folders. Obviously, a folding knife, pocket knife, slips into your pocket, can slip into an organizer of like the back of your backpack, something like that, no problem, and it's going to take up usually about half the space that, say, something like this SE Azula. Let's just kind of bust this in here real quick. Azula 2 with its sheath on. My folded Mini Recon is about the size of the handle, just a little bit longer. Look at all that extra real estate that I got to come up with. And then usually, either if you're carrying it as a neck knife, you got to carry it under your body, and then you got to try and do a move underneath your shirt, and you got this weird lump bouncing around your chest. And I just don't like carrying neck knives that way. If you do and you're like, bro, I carry them all the time like that, it's my bling. Okay, cool, good for you. I don't do that. I'm talking about my system and hopefully challenging your system. If you're new to knives, or maybe you're just starting to get into fixed blades, or you're trying to think about a system you're building a camping system, you're building that survival system, that EDC system, is it really worth owning a neck knife versus just having a good quality folder in its portability? Again, I say no, because on top of not only the sheath, and many sheaths that these fixed blades come with are really kind of trash, you're gonna have to upgrade them, so then that's more money laying it down. Then on top of that, depending on if you're not gonna carry it as a neck knife and actually carry it underneath your body around your neck, then now we gotta come up with some sort of other system to attach it, a belt system, maybe a blade tech lock, bungees, whatever. Then it starts to get really goofy, it starts to get really awkward and add a lot of weight. Again, the example here, this guy with handle scales, so if we're gonna say, hey, we got good attachments, we got a decent sheath, and we got good ergonomics, I'm just picking on the SE Azula 2 because a lot of you guys have it, and it's a well-known popular neck knife. But this thing's gonna weigh 5.3 ounces. 5.3 ounces and have a huge, like 7.5-inch footprint overall with the sheath. I mean, that's what we're looking at here. And none of these knives right here are gonna even get close to that. I think the heaviest one is this tricked out full-size griptilian, and this thing weighs like 4.5 ounces or something like that. So I mean, we're talking about a whole extra ounce, and you may be like, oh, you're nitpicking on ounces. Every ounce equals a pound. Every pound equals exertion. That's what happens. And before you know it, and for myself and my system, I'm carrying a PS4 Leatherman multi-tool. I'm carrying a mini tube flashlight. I got my keys. Then I got my folder. Now I got my CCW. Before I know it, I've got a lot of weight riding on my belt area. And then you're telling me that we're going to add another 5 ounces versus say 3.5 or 3 or 3.5 or 4.5. It just doesn't make sense to me, and it's taking up a lot more real estate, and it just isn't as simple as just sliding into my pocket. So that's another reason, and really one of the big reasons, that these fixed blades in the sense of a neck knife and why neck knives suck. I just don't use the neck knives. Last year we went, and this is really last year when I began to discover this whole process. We went on a backpacking trip. I took my Cold Steel Finn Wolf, and I took the now retired backpacker from White River Knives. Great neck knife in the sense of its design, no issues with that, but this is the issue. The entire backpacking trip, I had this Finn Wolf in my pocket the entire time. Used it constantly, loved using it. This is a great $36 3.5-inch folder, fantastic. I have zero complaints with it. It's very tough, durable. That triad locking system is rocking. And I literally had to force myself to do the filming on the backpacker neck knife that I took with me. There was nothing wrong with it, but I just was like, I'd rather just throw it in the pack and just keep using my Finn Wolf. If I need to prepare food, bam, it's right in my pocket, wham, I just whip it out. I gotta try and figure out some way to attach this fixed blade. I'm pulling it out, putting it in, it's two-handed usually, to try and get that sheath going. You're lining it up, making sure you're not nicking your shirt or whatever. I mean, it's too much hassle for me and ends up not getting used. After I have done the review on all these neck knives, they basically get retired, and that's really where this video was born. I mean, my buddy Steven, and I appreciate Steven so much for coming, and he and I were talking a little while ago, and he was like, hey, I want to look at your neck knives, I'm thinking about buying a neck knife. I said, okay, great. So we pulled out the neck knives, and we just started discussing this topic, and I started talking about like, well, what do you plan on using this neck knife for? Why do you really need a neck knife? And 30 minutes later, bam, he's like, dude, you just talked me out of buying a neck knife. Thank you so much. You need to make a video on that. And that's really the genesis overall of this video, because I just don't carry the neck knives in my daily use, regardless if it is out in the wilderness or here around town, in the homestead, whatever. It's a folder every single time. So now at this point, I believe that there are two camps watching this video. Either the people that I've completely alienated and pissed off, and I'm sorry, but I got to speak the truth. I got to speak to you what I am learning, what I am discovering, what I am seeing in my own systems as they develop, as they grow. Hopefully your systems are always developing and growing. And if a small neck knife works in your system, great. I'm not bashing you on that. Good for you. I think they suck, and I just don't use them. So you may be sitting there and going, okay, well, what would you recommend? What is a good size for a fixed blade? Like, Aaron, what's the minimum size that you are gonna go for in a fixed blade when we're gonna be pairing them with, say, like a large axe, that's either a custom, or that's maybe like a Grand Force Brook, something like that, or you're pairing it with like a big large blade, like, an SP5, an SE Hungalis, a BK9, those type of knives, and you have these big choppers that are gonna do all your heavy duty work, but you want a companion blade is the word I would use. What's the smallest cutting edge I would go for? And that's why I'm bringing these two SEs in here, because I wouldn't take these two SEs either. And that's what I'm discovering, is that these two SEs, I'm not trying to rag on SE, I love SE, the SE Hungalis, the SE6. A lot of their knives are great blades and they have great quality products. That's not at all the issue that I'm talking about. It's actually, once I get out there, do I like the size and the capabilities of a neck knife in EDC or wilderness? And in this size, these 3.5-inch fixed blades right here, the SE RB3 that we're reviewing right now, and the JG3. Previously reviewed. These two knives also I'm finding just aren't big enough. If I'm going to dedicate the size and capacity of a fixed blade to my loadout, regardless of what it is, I need something bigger. And really what it came to with these two and any other 3.5, 3.75-inch cutting edge on a fixed blade, because again, I just feel like a folder. I mean, look at this. Here's again, this Finn Wolf, the exact same profile, gonna give me a true Scandi edge. They're the exact same thickness, and they're gonna do everything exactly the same. Exactly the same. And it's just, again, they're not, this 3.5 inch blade is not going to chop anything. It's not realistically going to baton anything. As we go along with this, even these sizes don't really cut it for me, because I found out when I would cut apples that I could barely span the width of an apple. So I'm like, man, these knives don't even produce a good experience when I'm doing food prep. So when we're talking fixed blades, this is really the system that I'm beginning to really get dedicated to and really enjoy using my fixed blades, is in fixed blades that are over 4 inches. They gotta be over 4 inches of cutting edge. If they're less than 4 inches, I just don't see the need. I don't use them, and I end up just using my folder instead. 99.9% of the time. That's me, that's where I'm at. So just to give you some examples here. Right out of the gate, when I post this video, it'll be right around the same time I'm posting and making a video called Making the Ultimate BK16. The BK16 is a perfect example of what I would consider a companion knife, perfect size for a fixed blade. Now we got like 4 1/4 cutting edge, we got a lot longer handle. Now we can start to get into the process of this knife can do lots of food prep. I can split smaller logs if I have to. I can do a lot more manipulating with, you know, feather stick making and that type of stuff. I can even hack off light branches if I need to, and I'm not worried about its performance and lack of performance that a neck knife or a sub 4 inch knife would offer. So we are going to be doing a review and a video on just how to make, I believe, an ultimate BK16. That'll either be already posted or coming up right around the same time I'm posting this video. Another example, we'll just go with Scandis here. Where's my guy here? We have this one's hilarious. I'm reviewing this one right now. They call this their tactical heavy duty companion that they've just recently come out with. It's a black coated, black handle. It does come with their MOLLE compatible sleeve now. That's all cool. It's pretty expensive. It's kind of a joke, but a heavy duty companion. Scandi grind, now I got a little over 1/2 inch longer. This knife is actually going to weigh less. It has a proprietary version of 1095 that Mora uses, even the Mora heavy duty companion, just the original right here. I mean, this is going to do anything that this Essie could do, but I'm going to get that extra length and the weight as well. I mean, this little guy, this is weighing like 5.3 ounces, I think, for this. Remember, if we go back to the Essie, where is it? Izula 2, these two knives weigh exactly the same. Which one do you think I'm going to get more capability out of? Mora, every time. For the exact same weight and for 20 bucks versus the 70 that you're gonna pay for the Essie Izula 2. So I mean, that's just one example. Oh man, you want like a super premium, under $100 stainless steel or semi-stainless steel, this thing right here, the Master Hunter. We did a review on this in new CPM 3V steel. Phenomenal, this thing is awesome. I love this knife. I'm getting like, I think it's like 4.5 inches of cutting edge. I got a great large handle. I got CPM 3V steel. It's going to hold an edge way longer than the 1095 or a lot of other, you know, steels that these size knives would come in a lot of the time. And just again, going to get huge performance out of this Master Hunter in a lot of ways that these smaller, either, you know, sub 3 inch or again neck knife size knives for about the same price. This thing's like $75 for this knife versus like 88 to like 90 bucks for this one. I'll pay the extra $15 to get a Master Hunter in CPM 3V all day long. This thing is freaking awesome. Man, I love that knife. So if you were to show up to say like a backpacking trip, multi-day backpacking trip, or you're showing up to a multi-day camping trip, we're gonna drive in, find a good spot, and we're just gonna have a ton of fun, whatever, and you're gonna see this type of system that you see here in front of you. You're not gonna see this JG3 hanging out in the bunch. It's just not gonna be around. You're not gonna see this Ghost Knives Banshee. Good little neck knife, but it's just not capable in the systems. You're gonna see what you see right here in front of you. Some kind of folder, not necessarily Finn Wolf, but probably you may see the Manix 2 Lightweight show up. I might be rocking that in my pocket and being like, yeah, this is gonna be my food prep knife, my, you know, just around the campfire, whatever I need to do, not my carving, whittling, bushcraft knife, but just, you know, my utility knife around the campsite. Maybe it's gonna be, if you're on a budget, it's gonna be your Bird Raven 2 with the new BD1 tool steel. Freaking love that. Love that knife. Around $45 last I checked. That's what you're gonna see. Then you're gonna see something like this, maybe the BK16. If we want to go maybe a little more primo, we'll go with the Super Steel Master Hunter, and we're going to go with maybe an Essie Hungalis if I'm wanting to rock like a big chopper instead of an axe. my BK9, whatever. You want to show Essie some love. I freaking love this knife. But this is the system you're going to see. Or you're going to see maybe like an axe and this knife and this knife. You know, this is a Tom Hinderman transformation that I'm working on right now. This thing is awesome. Awesome job of Tom Hinderman taking this vintage head axe, totally redoing it. And I got a Dave Rathensberger sheath. You guys are going to see a sheath review on this thing soon. This thing is a freaking awesome axe. But maybe I won't be taking the chopper, but I'll be taking the Master Hunter, this folder, and the axe. Or maybe my Delica 4 in this system with, you know what? Hey, I got nothing against Moras. $18 well spent, bam, right there. That's the systems that you're gonna see. And then when it comes to EDC, you're just gonna see the folders. You're not gonna see any of the fixed blades that we talked about in the mini size. You're just not gonna see them ever riding on me in an EDC format. They're just not there for me. Even my EDC bag, they end up just taking up space, and I'd rather have a multi-tool than this. So these are the things that you see fitting in my systems for the foreseeable future. So guys, ultimately, I just hope that this has helped you out with your systems and helping you to find what works for you. Obviously, you got to get out there, test it out yourself, but hopefully this has really helped you rethink the concept of neck knives and why neck knives suck and why in general sub 4-inch fixed blades just, in my opinion, aren't worth it. So guys, as always, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this video, check us out on all the relevant social media, and as always, remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.